Hello everyone, welcome to my channel AQ Digi Space. Today I have come up with the topic of selection control structures. Now that we are clear about the if statement, that in an if statement is followed by a condition, and as long as that condition is true, all the statements enclosed within the if control structure would be executed. Now, what will happen if we use the if-else structure? In the syntax, the if-else structure in C is that the same. The if is followed by the condition, bracket open, statement 1 or 2 would be executed. But then, as soon as the keyword else comes in, that means that if the condition is true, statement 1 would be executed, and if the condition is false, it will directly go to the else control structure or else keyword, and it will execute all the statements that are before the closing parenthesis but after the else keyword, which is statement 2 here. This is the syntax of if-else statement in C. Talking about the pseudocode, the same goes for the pseudocode except that the if is used as a keyword, if and else both are keywords, so they are used in capital letters, and if would be used instead of the curly brackets to show the starting and the ending of the if structure. Moving on to the flowchart. In case of the flowchart, we have the rhombus enclosing the condition and the yes and the no branches coming out from it. In case of yes, statement 1 would be followed, and in case of no, statement 2 would be followed. However, both of them will continue. Let's take an example of the if-else statement, the first one being finding the larger of the two numbers. For that, we need two numbers. So we are going to first write down the algorithm start, read num1, num2. If num1 is greater than num2, then write num1. And if the condition is false, that means the bigger one is num2 this time. So in the else statement, we are going to write else, write num2, and then exit the algorithm. Moving on to the flowchart start, read num1, num2 within a parallelogram, decision if num1 is greater than num2, if this is true, if it's a yes, then if it's a no, then write num2, and if it is a yes, then write num1, and both of them would proceed to exit. Let's code this program in C language, outputting the larger of the two numbers. For this, we need to take two numbers as the input of integer data type. So int num1, comma num2, semicolon. And then we are going to ask the user to enter the two numbers scanf. In case user would be entering the number, so it would be person D, comma person D. So the user that entering the number would be separating it by a comma, and then num1, comma, and num2, bracket close, semicolon. This time we are going to decide if num1 is greater than num2. What will happen if this is true? Print f the larger number is is person D, and place of person D it will place the value of num1, so we are separating it by a comma and writing num1. But if this condition is false, then it will move on to else. Reminded that we will use slightly indentation to write the word else, and slight indentation further to write print f the larger of the two numbers is person D, num2. Because if it's false, then num2 would be printed, semicolon. This time we are going to run the program, see if there are any errors. No, there are no errors. So we are going to input the number 245, 399. According to this, 399 should be printed as the larger number, and see it writes 399 as the larger number. Our next program is to decide whether the number that is input by the user is even and odd. Let me tell you one thing before. If the What logic do we use for this? An even number are all those numbers that are divisible by 2. If they are divisible by 2, that means after dividing by 2, their remainder should be a 0. So in this case, as we learned in our previous presentations, that for the remainder, we use the operator modulus. So here we are going to make use of this modulus. In case you don't remember it, please refer to my previous presentations of operators. So starting off with start, step 1, step 2 is read number. If number modulus 2 is equals to 0, that means if the remainder is 0, then write even, else write odd, and then exit. Moving on to the flowchart, start, read number within a parallelogram, decide if number modulus 2 is a 0, if it is a yes, and if it is a no. If it is a no, then write odd. If it is a yes, then write even, and then exit the program. State whether the number is even or odd. So we are going to take the number as input by the user, print f to and ask the user to enter the number, semicolon, scanf, person d, comma, and num. So decide if this number modulus 2, sorry, within the round brackets, number modulus 2 is equals to, we use a double equal sign in the if statement because that is the relational operator, is equals to 0. Then we are going to print the number is even, slightly indent, and else, slightly indent once again, printf. Why do we use indentations? Because indentations makes the code readable enough. The number is odd, and we wrote it as add, sorry. So let's execute it. So we entered the number 67. 67 modulus 2 is an odd because it requires an it ends up in a remainder. So this is it. Working on our last program of if-else statement, calculating either the sum or product of the two numbers. That means the user is given only two options, either to calculate the sum or the product. There is no third option here. So it will work with the if-else statement this time. If there were more than two options, then obviously we would have moved on to some other strategy. So for now, we are going to start off with start, read num1, num2, read the option whether the user enters plus or multiplication. If the option is a plus, then answer is equals to num1 plus num2, else answer is equals to num1 multiplied by num2. This is then else it will, if he has not entered the plus sign, then obviously uh, uh, the multiplication would be performed, answer would be output, and exit. Moving on to the flowchart, start, read num1, num2, read the option. So it is going to read both the things. If the option says plus, then if it is a yes, then if it is a no, then obviously calculate, multiply, and then write it down. If it is a yes, then add it up and write it down, and then both of them exit. Here we are going to need three variables. The first one for the num1, number 1, number 2, and the other one for the option. That is, we will tell the user through printf, enter the two numbers terminated by a semicolon, scanf, where we ask the user to enter the two numbers %d, and num1 comma and num2 terminated by a semicolon. This time we are going to tell the user enter 1 for adding and 2 for the, or enter 1 for addition and 2 for multiplication. Terminated by a semicolon, then we'll leave it up to the user whatever option he wants to choose. Since it is an integer data type, so we are going to use %d and option op terminated by a semicolon. Then we are going to write if op is equals to 1, that means he had opted for the addition, and hence it will, by a slight indent, printf the addition of the two numbers is %d, and we are going to write it here num1 plus num2. Okay, it is going to perform the addition here. Then slight indent, if the above if condition is false, then printf the multiplication of the two numbers is %d, d, comma, num1 into num2. So now we are going to execute this program and see what we have in here. We enter the two numbers 4, 5, press enter. We are going to multiply it, so we chose the option 2, and the multiplication of the two numbers is 20. This is it. Thank you so much, students, for listening so well. I hope you understood the concept of if statements. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe my channel. Don't forget to share it as well. Hope to see you soon in our next video. Thank you.